1. Emotions are not the enemy. Misunderstanding. You've probably been told to control your emotions, to stay calm, to not let things get to you, to hide what you feel. But most people misunderstand what emotional control truly means. They think it's about suppression, about pretending not to care or forcing themselves to stay calm no matter what happens. But Stoic philosophy offers a very different perspective. It teaches that emotions are not your enemies. They are natural parts of being human, signals from the mind showing you how you are interpreting the world around you. The real challenge isn't the emotion itself, but the misunderstanding behind it. When anger appears, it's not a failure. It's information. It shows you that something inside you feels threatened or disrespected. When fear arises, it's not weakness. It's your mind trying to protect you from uncertainty. And when sadness comes, it's not something to escape from, but an expression of loss and care. Each emotion carries a message, but most people never pause long enough to listen. The Stoics believed that peace doesn't come from fighting what you feel, but from understanding it. They saw emotions as teachers, reflections of your thoughts and beliefs. Instead of asking, "How do I stop feeling this?" they asked, "What is this emotion trying to show me?" That small shift changes everything. Because once you stop judging your emotions, you begin to see them clearly. Understanding replaces resistance. Awareness replaces confusion. And slowly, what once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. You no longer need to hide from your emotions or control them through force. You simply learn to work with them. Real calmness, the Stoics said, isn't about feeling nothing. It's about seeing everything clearly. That's where emotional balance truly begins. Every emotion begins with a thought. Every emotion you experience starts with a single thought, a quiet interpretation of what's happening around you. The Stoics understood this deeply. They taught that events themselves don't disturb us. It's our judgments about those events that shape how we feel. Two people can face the same situation. One remains calm while the other feels anxious or angry. The difference isn't in what happened, but in what each person believes about it. Think about anger. It doesn't come directly from someone's words or actions. It comes from the belief that those words define you, or that their actions threaten your worth. Jealousy doesn't arise just because someone else has more. It grows from the thought that your value depends on comparison. And fear often appears when the mind starts believing it can control what was never truly in its control. Every emotional reaction begins as a story your mind creates, often so quickly that you don't even notice it. The Stoics encouraged people to slow down and trace emotions back to their source. When you feel disturbed, instead of asking, "Why am I feeling this way?" ask, "What am I believing right now?" That simple question turns emotion into understanding. You start to see that the feeling isn't random. It's the result of perception. Once you recognize that emotions are born from thoughts, you gain the ability to reshape them. You can question whether the belief behind a reaction is true or helpful. Over time, this awareness builds emotional stability. You stop being carried away by every passing feeling, not because you suppress emotion, but because you understand where it comes from. And that understanding, quiet, steady, and thoughtful, is what the Stoics called real strength. Understanding, not suppression, brings peace. Many people believe emotional control means keeping everything inside, staying silent, pretending not to care, or forcing themselves to appear calm. But real peace doesn't come from suppression. It comes from understanding. When you try to hide or fight your emotions, they don't disappear. They simply grow stronger beneath the surface. Stoic philosophy teaches that emotions are not meant to be erased. They are meant to be examined with patience and clarity. Imagine trying to calm a storm by shouting at it. That's what happens when we try to control emotions by force. The more we resist what we feel, the more power those feelings gain over us. The Stoics instead practiced observation. They believed that when you simply watch an emotion without judgment, whether it's anger, fear, or sadness, it begins to lose its grip. Observation allows you to see that feelings are temporary waves passing through the mind, not permanent states of who you are. Understanding transforms emotional struggle into learning. When you notice anger, you can ask what belief or expectation lies beneath it. When you feel fear, you can explore what uncertainty your mind is trying to protect you from. This kind of reflection doesn't reject emotion. It welcomes it as a teacher. The goal isn't to feel nothing, but to respond with wisdom instead of reaction. Over time, you realize that calmness isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to move through emotion with awareness. The Stoics called this true balance, a mind that stays clear even when feelings arise. Because once you understand what you feel, you no longer have to fight it. You simply allow it to pass, and in that gentle acceptance, peace naturally appears. The power lies in what you can control. One of the most important lessons from Stoic philosophy is the understanding of control, what belongs to us and what doesn't. The Stoics taught that peace begins when we focus only on what we can truly influence. Our thoughts, choices, and actions are within our control. The behavior of others, the outcomes of events, and the opinions of the world are not. Yet most of our frustration comes from trying to change things that were never ours to control in the first place. When you expect life to always follow your plans, disappointment becomes constant. When you expect people to always agree with you or treat you fairly, frustration follows. But when you accept that external things move according to their own nature, you start to find calm within uncertainty. You realize that while you cannot control the world, you can always control your response to it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." This is the foundation of emotional balance. Every time something disturbs you, pause and ask, "Is this within my control?" If the answer is no, let it go. If it's yes, focus on what action you can take. That simple distinction creates space between reaction and understanding. The more you practice this separation, the lighter life feels. Situations may still be challenging, but your inner stability remains. You stop wasting energy on what you can't change and use that energy to strengthen your thoughts and behavior. This is not indifference. It's wisdom. It's choosing to invest attention where it truly matters, in your own mind. Because once you learn to focus on what's yours to control, nothing outside of you can easily disturb your peace. Real freedom. Is mastery of the mind. True freedom isn't about controlling everything around you. It's about understanding yourself deeply enough that external situations no longer control you. The Stoics believed that emotional freedom comes from mastery of the mind, not from avoiding feelings. To master your mind means to see your thoughts clearly, to recognize when your emotions are guiding you from truth and when they are being shaped by assumptions or fear. Every emotion begins as a thought, and every thought carries a story. When you believe that story without question, it becomes your reality. For example, if your mind tells you that someone's opinion defines your worth, you may feel hurt or defensive. But when you pause and examine that thought, you begin to see that your value was never dependent on anyone else. That realization weakens the emotion's hold on you. Understanding your mind in this way turns emotional struggle into self-awareness. The Stoics practiced reflection to train this awareness. They observed their thoughts the way one might observe clouds passing through the sky, without judgment, without attachment. They knew that emotions rise and fall, but truth remains steady. With time and patience, the same situations that once created strong reactions begin to lose their power. You don't feel less. You simply stop being ruled by every passing feeling. This is what the Stoics called harmony with reason, when your thoughts and emotions work together instead of against each other. Real freedom, then, is not about escaping emotion, but about understanding it so deeply that it no longer defines your peace. When the mind is clear and calm, emotions can flow naturally without control or confusion. In that stillness, you discover true strength, the quiet freedom of an understanding mind.